Hello, Gobs, and welcome back to another episode of Gob Rant. I don't know why I was talking like that. This is my series where I pick a topic and rant about it. It's TTRPG sometimes, and then other times it's just a completely random topic that involves TTRPGs. And if you don't know who I am the Goblin King. I do RPG content. Click on my name, watch my channel trailers, see all the other content I do. If you like this video, like and subscribe, but wait till the end, watch it till the end. Don't just do it off the riff because you like me. Even though that's very much appreciated. Or go ahead and do it anyways because I can't tell you what to do. Now, today's topic is just something off the top of my head. I don't have any script, I don't have anything, so if I'm all over the place, that is why. Very unprofessional, I know, but that's what you gotta get from the king, okay? You expect professional level quality from someone of my size of channel? I don't know, watch my other videos and figure it out. Anyways, today's topic has been something I've been mulling around in my head, and I have a couple examples to give, and this isn't really for advice or anything. This isn't to like rage bait people into leaving comments or anything. If that's how this is taken, watch the video to the end to get my full opinion, but before you leave a comment, like I said, make sure you watch till the end of the video. But this is not to rage bait, this is not to like try to inform you or correct you on what you're doing wrong or to say that what you're doing is wrong. This is simply to, what's the word, instigate? No, instigate's like starting a fight. It's more to formulate a conversation in the comments or any other place, maybe the Reddit too. But that's what the goal of this is. I want to have a discussion and I want to find out other people's views of thinking on subjects that I talk about. If I get any comments. Self-pity jabs out of the circuit yet? Is it out yet, or is it like the old thing? I don't know. Let's just get into today's topic. Today's topic: should you roll or should you let it roll? As the title says. I think that's what the title's going to be anyways. Basically, when should you have your players dice roll to progress the story? Okay? Or when should you just let your players do what they want and just let the story go before you ask them for a skill check? Or it could also be, how many skill checks are you going to ask your players before they're able to progress? I'm going to answer most of that if I remember it in today's video. So, that is today's topic. Let's get the title in here. Now get that title out of here. So for a while now, and I've also collected a couple of my other stories, but I've seen a lot of D&D horror stories, and not even D&D, but just a lot of systems in general about people making a slew of skill checks in order to progress the story. And sometimes that's okay, and other times it should be a one and done, I believe. That's what my opinion is going to boil down to. Actually, let me start with that. At the end of the day, no matter what I say, if it works for your table, if it works for your group, then keep rolling with it. If you guys are having a blast every single night and you make a bunch of different skill checks to progress the story, then keep at it. Well, you don't have to change it up, or maybe change it up and see how it works. And if it doesn't work, just go back to the old way. Even if it's just for one session and the next session you go back, at least you tried it. So if it works for your group, then keep playing it. I can't tell you to not play it. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for doing it, but let's just go over the core of today's video. Now, if you remember, hopefully you remember, it was literally just a minute ago, to roll or not to roll or to let it roll. That is the topic for today. Now I'm just talking over myself, talking in circles. Listen. I tell you, I don't do these with scripts, okay? So don't bear with me and enjoy the gameplay. The really mid gameplay. But in games like D&D, maybe Lancer, Call of Cthulhu, even I've been playing a lot of Fabula Ultima with my group lately, and we're about to play some VTM or maybe Triangle Company. There's a slew of systems that are both a mixture of combat and story. But, well, D&D seems to sometimes, well, at least for most people, seem to be centered on combat, but not all the time. There's a lot of role players out there, and there's a lot of people that like the exploration aspects of it. But for me, I like it when a system tends to lean into more story-driven elements, such as not being bound to the rules as much. Like Fabula Ultima, there's a I won't say there's a lot of rules, but there's a lot of freedom within the rules. And of course, you guys don't always have to follow the rules in the book. Now, for each system, they have a way to describe how to do skill checks, when to ask for skill checks, at least I hope they do. Like D&D, I don't think really explains it too much. It's more like if the DM thinks that the task would be harder than an average person to do, then they should ask for a skill check, I guess. Whereas in games like Lancer, it's more like, well, will the skill check move the story along? And there should be significant drawbacks every time someone makes a check in Lancer, because the checks in Lancer should always be moving the story forward, even if it's a fail. And it seems like in D&D, the skill checks aren't as important a lot of the time. You know, it's not like in Lancer where the fails can be super significant, like you lose, not equipment, but you can, well, it just depends on the check, but you can lose like social prowess for your character, you can lose your dignity, you can lose equipment, you can lose social standings. Whereas in D&D, it's more like, well, you get stepped back a little bit, and this person doesn't like you that much anymore, or stuff like that. Or it's simply, well, you tried to persuade them and the persuasion failed. But again, every system is going to be different. Now, comparing D&D to Lancer, it's far different. And comparing D&D to Pathfinder, it's kind of the same way, except Pathfinder has fail and critical fails and success and critical successes, whereas D&D, it's like fail, success, critical success. So there's that kind of non-existing overlap too. So you can also critically fail, but the critical fails in Pathfinder are more for like status effects and damage and stuff, not really for social situations, I think. No, I'm pretty sure there's social situations that have critical fails attached to them, but I just know D&D, man, I'm going on like this really weird tangent, but to me, it feels like the checks in D&D sometimes don't matter, and to the point that a lot of actions seem to want to take skill checks to run through, but that's not always the case. That's more up to the DM. It's not a fault of the game system, it's more of a fault of the GM. Now let's just go over some examples. Now this comes from my personal group. This is nothing towards those guys. If you see this, it's nothing towards you. It's just little situations that I remember that, you know, I think we've all talked about it, and if not, this is your way you're finding out. I am incredibly sorry. But I'm not putting you on full blast because I think everybody runs into these kinds of problems, and I just want to get these situations out so everyone knows kind of what I'm talking about. Now, sometimes it's better to just let the story roll. If your character is doing something mundane or outside of combat, it's better just to, you know, let them do it. Now, that's not saying to just let them do it all the time. It's like, obviously, like the whole thing, like maybe if it's harder for an average person, but some people, like, they want to climb a ladder, they think they need to roll a skill check. Now, climbing a ladder covered in oil that's old and broken in the middle of combat is far different. See where that starts to come into play. Outside of combat, I don't really think it should be a roll to climb a ladder of any circumstance. I'm just saying, unless that ladder's like over a pit or something, you know, they're climbing onto a ladder and the floor falls beneath them. If they fail, they will fall and take a lot of fall damage. But if they succeed, well, they get to climb out of the pit. And then if they fail, the story keeps moving. And if they succeed, the story keeps moving. Rather than it's like, you try to climb the ladder and the ladder breaks and you fall to the ground. It's like, okay, can I climb the side of this now? Yeah, sure. But that's not an example. Let me give you an example. In one of our campaigns, I don't know the characters and all that, doesn't matter. We had just cleared out a bandit camp. We were looking for a group of survivors that the bandits had kidnapped, or it was like village people. I don't remember what it was, but anyways, a bunch of people got kidnapped. They were stolen by the bandits, and we cleared out the bandits, and now we were looking for the people. So we had to roll a check to look around camp, and then it's like, okay, my character is going to go into this tent. As soon as I got into the tent, rather than describing what was in the tent, I was asked to roll a perception check. And it's like, should kind of be the other way around. You should describe the environment before you describe what to roll. If you have stuff hidden in the environment, then keep that stuff hidden until it's investigated upon. Or if you know, like passive perception and all that, check your passive perception and compare it to whatever is hidden in the room, if that has a DC for hiding or whatnot, or make a check or whatever. But you know, when you get in there, you should generally describe what the layout of what your character can see. Now, if it's like magical darkness or something, yeah, I get that. Your character's not going to be able to see much. But literally just walked into the tent and immediately asked for a perception check before describing anything. So I rolled low, and I was described to, that's such a weird way to putting it. But anyways, there was boxes in the rooms with white sheets over them. I was like, okay, I guess this is like traveling supplies. But since you guys already know what we were looking for, it was obviously the people. But it's like, you think the people in the cages would be like whimpering or crying or screaming or some type of noise, you know. It like comes back to like, does this really need to be a skill check? If they're just in the room and you walk in there, if they're not being concealed like D&D, this was in D&D 5e, but if they're not being concealed by magic, if they're not trying to hide, if something's not trying to hide them, if they're just out in the open, then your character should just be able to see it without having to make a skill check. So in this case, it should be let the story roll. Just let it roll. Let it go. We're not out in combat. They're not being hid by anything magical or by someone or by something or trying to be hide out of place. It's just literally, they're just in there, and what's the point in hiding them behind a perception check if the fail isn't going to move the story anywhere? What we all fail and we just thought, well, guess we can't find them. And that seems like a very boring aspect of the story. Of course, someone else came in and they rolled really high and they were immediately able to discern that these were the missing people. I'm like, guess my character is just stupid or literally blind. That's another thing. Playing the roles to a T. It's not what your character is good or bad at. It's the circumstance of what your character is doing. Now, sometimes it could be that your character is bad at that. That's what the minuses and the pluses are for in your skills. But I mean, sometimes your character is just going to be bad. But the roles are more for just the situation or the circumstances of what was happening. So there's a good case of let it roll. Just let the story go. You don't have to roll for it. Just let the story go, and you'll have a much more fun time telling a story with your players rather than barring them at every single entry. Now let me give an example where it should be done with a skill check, but one, and not a whole slew of skill checks. Now the difference between doing one thing depends on the actions of what the player is trying to do. Obviously, if the player is trying to build something, and then that something like launches them or flies them over something, and then those should obviously be like separated skill checks. One to build it, see if your character has the resources, the knowledge, and the circumstances are in their favor to build that thing, and then another to actually like aim it and all that to launch them over. Of course, you could because those both require completely different skills. But again, it's just whatever works for you. See, that might be something with two checks. I'm thinking in Fabula Ultima, they're like, if you want to do a complex check, then you have to make a clock, and then every time they pass a check, then the clock fills up, and then there's like this whole like opportunity which lets them fill the clock more, or there's skills that let them fill the clock more. Just depends on what the players are doing. And then you have to set up what the fail condition is. It's like, okay, if you fail once, does this clock break? Or is there like another clock that fills up every time they fail a check? And then, you know, it's really cool. I love Fabula Ultima. Okay, I love it so much. But anyways, back to the story. I haven't even started the story. I was explaining checks. But, you know, in Fabula Ultima, there's things that can sometimes require multiple checks. So, like, for example, I had it set up that my players had to investigate what this enemy faction was doing. Now, obviously, that's probably not something you can just do in one roll. So I set up a clock of 4 sections. I'm like, okay, or was it 6 sections? I don't know. It's literally like 4 to 6, and it's like, okay, fill up this clock, and I'll tell you what the enemies are doing, because that's your characters have investigated the area enough to figure it out. But if you fail, there's this other clock that will fill up, and if that clock fills up, then all the enemies in the areas are alerted. So this comes down to a difference of systems. Whereas in D&D, you would have to play out the entire thing to what the players are doing. Like someone to sneak in, and then they have to roll perception to see if they can find anything, or investigation to see if they can see the code on a book. And it's just completely different stories. But you could also do that in Fabula Ultima too. I mean, you could get right down to the nitty-gritty. It's just how much of the story would you want to break it down to? If that makes sense, right? You know, like, do you want to do a scene by scene, check by check thing, or would you rather just have it be an overall thing where each check slowly moves of progress forward, and then if you fail, then it sets you back, but you have to find out some other way to do it rather than just sneaking around or something like that. I don't know. It's completely up to you. But anyways, The crux of the story, that sounds like rambling nonsense, but while I'm recording it. But anyways, let's get to the crux of the story. Is that how you? Is that the word? I don't know. But let's get to the story. We're playing VTM. This is no hate on my DM, even if he sees it. It's not hate. It's not hate for you, okay? It was just an example, and I feel like tons and tons of other people do this. So we have a gangrel, me a thin blood, and someone else is a venture, which those are just clans of vampires. Gangrels are like animalistic, live in the wild, and venture are like upper class, and their thing is they have to drink from very specific people. In VTM, Vampire the Masquerade, whenever the GM asks for a hunting check, it's usually during the middle of the night when nothing's happening. You have to make a hunt check in your area that you're in, or an area granted to you, whatever. You're hunting for blood so you don't get hungry, because there's a whole hungry mechanic in there. Your hunger empties, you go insane, and you lose a character. So that's the thing, you have to hunt. Hunting in the book is described as you can either do scene by scene, or you can just make it one roll for each person. Each other people can't help each other out, they're all hunting on their own. Our gangrel, one check, goes into the forest, finds a deer because he's a vegetarian, which means they don't drink from humans, and he just gets the deal like that. One check. That's it. Our other person is a venture, which, to be honest, we really didn't like his character, so this might have played a part into it, but he can only drink from, like, what was it, blonde-headed doctors or something? It was something oddly specific, but he had to go to the market or go to, like, the city. He had to make a check to find someone. He had to make a check to follow that person home. He had to make a check to get past the security systems. When he couldn't make that check, because statistically, the more checks you make, you're more inevitably going to fail, which is another thing of making a bunch of skill checks in a row. But basically, the more skills you make, the more chances you're going to fail, regardless of your bonuses. It's just part of dice rolling. It's just part of chance. So anyways, he inevitably fails getting past the alarm system, and now he has to talk to this cop, and now he has to make another skill check while talking to this cop. I was like, dang, this sucker had to make like 5 skill checks just to feed from one person for the night. And the other guy over here, he just had to make 1 skill check. I'm like, shouldn't it just be, I don't know, like equal for everyone? Like 1 check for the night, and then next time, if everybody wants to do scene by scene, then go around through everybody and make everyone do a scene by scene. Then I would have complained so much. Or it's not really a complaint, I just thought it was a little funny thing. I'm like, it's like, really? He had to jump through so many hoops, and he doesn't even get to feed for the night. And then our other guy, he just had to make 1 roll against something he's very good at. And while our other character, you know, he had to have good tracking, and he had to have good self, and he had to have good manipulation. And it's like, you can only make your character so specified in so many orifices, not orifices, that's weird, but in so many sections of the character, so many stats, so many skills. So that's just another case of, yes, it needs a skill check, but no, it doesn't need that many skill checks compared to my fabulous story, where you kind of needed a bunch of skill checks. And I think the key to game mastering is finding, well, A, what works for your group, and B, what works for you. I mean, well, it should be what works for you and then what works for your group, because you don't want to play in a style that you don't like, okay? Or eventually you might be able to adapt to it, but you should want to play how you want to play rather than how your group wants to play. Just saying. That's just saying. I would hate to have to roleplay or DM in a certain manner just because my group likes it, but I hate it or I dislike it. I'd rather just, find another DM style or find another system that works with the DM styling that I want to do. I think that's it. I don't have any examples for not making a skill check. Well, the not making a skill check is outside of combat, outside of stressful scenarios. As much as I hate it, Yokai Hunter Society put it perfectly. When they're not in combat, they can do basically whatever they want. They want to climb onto a roof, they can just climb onto a roof. No skill check needed. Only time a skill check in that system should be made, Yokai Hunter Society, is when the check, fail lose, moves the story forward. But every system's different. For D&D, the checks aren't as consequential. Is that the word? I keep asking that, but I'm trying to use big words to sound smart. But D&D, they're not as important as they are in other systems. Like in Fabula Ultima, if you fail, then a whole slew of things could happen, and then fumbles, of course, tie into that. And then there's just other systems I think checks in S&T when you're not in combat also aren't that impactful. And then Lancer fails are really impactful. So anytime in Lancer, the skill check should just, you know, be made. Of course, I think I've also asked for really dumb skill checks, but it's more my character had skills that I want them to use, and I had other ways for them to get through. It wasn't. That's another thing. Don't make things locked behind one person having to pass a skill check, because it's not a guaranteed. And if your story is locked behind that skill check, then which isn't true. I mean, I think you could always find different avenues for your players to get around obstacles, even if they fail the initial check that you think of. Like, oh man, he was really supposed to dispel that magic and he couldn't make that check. Maybe I could throw something else in there. That's really what GMing I think is about, the improv and just knowing when to roll or when to let it roll. That's another thing. And again, this just comes down to group. People like to roll dice too, but sometimes people want to tell a story. So just figure that mix out between you and your group. And then, like I said, if you're already having fun making tons of skill checks, or vice versa, not making skill checks and just telling a story together, to keep doing it. Why do you have to mix it up because some random Goblin King told you it might be better to do one way or it might be better to do the other way? I didn't even say that. I didn't even say, oh, it's wrong to make a bunch of skill checks. I just said it could be unfair, but if that's how people want to play, then that's up to that person. Instead, I just prefer it a different way, and that's literally it. It's just preference. So, did this video make sense? I sure hope so. If it didn't, let me know in the comments below. And what do you guys think? Do you guys like to roll tons of skill checks? Do you like to ask your players to roll tons of skill checks? Or do you guys like telling a story with your players? Or do you like maybe have the dice tell the story sometimes? I mean, that's just part of playing a TTRPG. You're gonna roll some dice, you're gonna make some checks, you're gonna fail some checks, and you're gonna pass some checks. That's just the nature of it. So, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now you can like it, now you can subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, you know, off the wall, non-script, me rambling. That's what a Gob Rant is. If you want to see more, then subscribe. And if you want to throw your opinions at me some more, well, of course you can leave it in the comments, or hey, I have a subreddit and other social media in the description, so check those out. And thank you for making it this far into the video. And I hope you gobs have a lob of a day. May your stories be grand and adventurous, I guess.